Every once in a while, we'll come across superheroes who somehow fit into the superpowered world without actually having any superpowers. Whether they're empowered by an adept skill, a vast fortune, a powerful serum, or even a mixture of all of those things, some superheroes are just people. So here are 10 of those, the top 10 most powerful superheroes with no powers. At number 10, we have Hit Girl from the Image Comics series Kick-Ass. Although she's basically a child, Hit Girl is already an extremely impressive fighter, having been trained in martial arts since she was basically an infant. Adept in weapons training with guns, hand-to-hand combat, and tactical strategy, Hit Girl doesn't stop at anything to take her enemies out of the equation. And considering she has almost no problem taking down full-sized adults as an actual child, there is no question in my mind that she needs to be on this list. The only reason why she isn't at a higher tier is that, well, we all know that there are just plenty of other hard hitters in the running. Okay, coming in at number 9, we've got Black Widow. Black Widow is one of the most impressive superheroes that gets all of her power from martial arts and weapons training alone. Sometimes being accused of being too OP in the MCU for her power set, this highly trained assassin trains hard for her impressive fighting abilities. She has a long history, beginning in the 60s, and has shown that some people are just more skilled than others at holding on to their martial arts training. Black Widow is even credited with having taken down the likes of Spider-Man in the past, which says a lot, and she's even somehow contended with Iron Man in one instance, which is only one of many examples of why she deserved a spot on this list. At number 8 is the Punisher. One word: guns. The Punisher has gotten so good with guns that he doesn't need much more than a couple of pistols and a stone cold heart to take control over his enemies. To be fair, Frank Castle doesn't really deal with enemies much beyond the world of street crime in the human world, but he's still had his fair share of run-ins with superheroes and held his own. In fact, he's credited with taking down Batman himself and even Wolverine at one point. Although to be fair, Wolverine is in pretty dire straits at the time and Frank has access to a steamroller. But still, the Punisher is very seldom at the mercy of anyone, and it's pretty impressive that he's just a human who uses nothing but weaponry and cold hard confidence to get things done. At number 7 is Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing. Nightwing is the first sidekick that Batman ever had, which makes him the longest standing disciple of Batman. And considering Batman is arguably one of the kings of non-superpowered heroes, this says a lot. Having grown up by Bruce Wayne's side for all that time, Nightwing has seen tons of combat and has learned a lot about making efficient use of weapon and gadget loadouts in high-stakes situations. This training gives him enough skill and confidence to go out into the world under his own moniker of Nightwing and make a major name for himself. Being the current leader of the Teen Titans, Dick Grayson already has tons of experience for such a young hero and stands out among other heroes that also have the advantage of actual powers under their belts. At number 6, we have Green Arrow. Now, this was a toss-up between Green Arrow and Hawkeye, but I only had room for one bow and arrow guy on this list. Now, for someone who doesn't actually have any powers and just relies on his skill set as an archer, Green Arrow is extremely impressive. It seems as well that he doesn't even need to equip himself with much defensive gear because his offensive skill is so OP that he can just overwhelm his opponents before they can get a hit in. I mean, he can shoot 33 arrows a minute. That's basically like shooting an extremely high caliber machine gun with perfect accuracy. And he also has a huge array of trick arrows that he can switch out without hesitating, like his exploding tip arrows, which pack a huge punch to his attack strength. And if his enemies can somehow protect themselves from that, he also has a great stealth stat, which allows him to slip away into the shadows to reassess his next approach. He's just one of the more impressive heroes without powers out there, and I wanted to make sure he got his due credit. At number 5, we have Daredevil. Daredevil gets a spot higher up on the list because on top of not having any powers, he's famously as blind as a bat. Now, you may be eager to contest this one because it's been said that Daredevil does have heightened senses due to his run-in with toxic waste, but it's never been confirmed that his senses are heightened because of the chemicals or simply as a natural response to his loss of eyesight. But either way, he can't see, for crying out loud, so if you wanted to argue that being able to hear and feel things really accurately is considered an advantage when you can't even see, then then you can go ahead, but I don't know if I'd agree with you. The truth is, what would normally be seen as a shortcoming by anyone else actually becomes one of the hero's primary motivators to try that much harder at what he does. And not to mention, he's first introduced as a skilled lawyer defending the likes of Namor with his quick wit and cunning. And those abilities always count to some degree as well on a list ranked by power. At number 4 we have Cyborg. Sometimes heroes are endowed with supercharged upgrades which are basically synonymous with actual powers. One example of that is with Cyborg, who after losing some of his body parts is given massive bionic upgrades. There are a multitude of different offensive and defensive features to his robotic suit, or whatever you'd call it. Is it a suit? Because it makes up part of his face. Either way, even just his laser cannon is enough to have him fit in with the other heroes, but ever since he's been outfitted with the boom tube, he's only climbed higher in the ranks. Not to mention his white noise cannon and the mother box more recently. The boom tube, first of all, adds teleportation to his arsenal. The white noise cannon can rip enemies apart instantly, and the mother box gives him access to the multiverse, which brings Cyborg to a whole other level. And considering he's only human somewhere beneath all that tech and armor, it just makes him that much more impressive. At number 3 we have the one and only Captain America. Okay, don't kill me, you may disagree with me on this one, and I'm open to a discussion in the comments, but it's simply the truth that Captain America, and Bucky Barnes for that matter, doesn't actually have superpowers. When they are tested on and given their powers by the super soldier serum, they are only given increases in strength, durability, and fighting skill at the peak of human ability, meaning they are still entirely human and are not actually known to be superhuman, just extremely efficient humans. And as insanely powerful and awesome as these heroes are, don't want to bash them in any way, I just don't think that being extremely efficient humans constitutes having superpowers. Now I know that some powers are acquired through circumstance, like by falling into a barrel of toxic waste or being, I don't know, bitten by a radioactive spider, but the super soldier serum just simply doesn't give Steve Rogers superhuman powers, just peak human performance. And honestly, I'm not complaining. That's enough for me. At number 2 we have Batman. Bruce Wayne is the perfect example to demonstrate that a good person who is very motivated, dedicated, and, oh yeah, has billions of dollars at their disposal can basically make someone superpowered. I mean, do I even have to convince you that Batman deserves one of the top spots on a list about non-superpowered heroes? Other than being a master detective and tactical genius, Bruce Wayne has trained hard enough to be considered one of the most skilled and agile fighters in the DC universe as well. Matching this up with his unprecedented arsenal of gadgets, vehicles, and weaponry, Batman becomes unstoppable. And it's sometimes easy to forget that under the mask is someone just like us who simply took advantage of his privilege in a way that almost no other superhero has ever done. Almost. Which brings us to number 1, with the one and only Iron Man. Iron Man has got to be one of the coolest superheroes out there, and he doesn't have any powers. I know you know this, I'm just saying it, reminding myself and everyone out there. Taking the concept of a medieval suit of armor and modernizing it to the point that Tony Stark does is one of the coolest and most effective ways I've ever seen a hero go from mortal to superpowered being ever. With only a genius mind and, yeah, a couple million, billion, trillion bucks, I don't know how he affords all that stuff, Iron Man has no issue keeping up with nearly any superhero. And that includes beings from other dimensions with powers incomprehensible to even the most superpowered beings out there. With his genius AI system, extremely durable metals, and adeptly engineered mechanics, the Iron Man armor is born. And it's such an impressive feat that even those with little to no training in hand-to-hand or weapons combat can be put into one of these suits and keep up with the likes of the Avengers, i.e. Pepper Potts in the MCU, which I don't know if that was very believable, but that maybe the suit is just that crazy. There's just no question that Iron Man would be at number 1 on this list, and as one of my top 3 superheroes of all time, it's just that much cooler to me that he's just a person. Tony Stark didn't wait on a barrel of toxic waste or a radioactive spider to come his way. He took on the challenge of turning himself into a superhero, and he succeeded on a cosmic level. Okay, that was the list for today. Thanks for watching. Did I miss any? Please leave a comment below with your thoughts, and as always, I'll do my best to respond to you personally. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I've been your host, Ben Ball. You know the rest. See you next time.